Hey guys, so today's workshop's on virtual reality, and I'm going to show you how to set up your project so you can build to the MetaQuest. Okay guys, so there's a couple different ways that we could build our project to the headset, but we're going to be using the Oculus SDK. They have really great documentation, and since we're going to be using mostly the Quest, um, that's all we really need to worry about covering. The other option is the XR Toolkit. So if you have any other sort of headset that's not Meta or Oculus, then I would recommend looking into that for building. It's pretty much the same, but there's a few key differences, but there's still a lot of documentation for the XR Toolkit as well. Okay, so like last tutorial, I'm going to have another PDF attached to this. It's called Hello Virtual Reality World. The first two steps, I'm pretty much just following straight off the Oculus documentation. The first one is configuring Unity settings, and the second one is downloading the SDK packages via the package manager. So I'm just going to go over those inside Unity so you can have a visual reference other than just the page. Okay, so the first step for configuring your Unity project to build to the Oculus is coming to File, Build Settings, and then this pop-up. And under platform, we're going to select Android and hit switch platform down here. If you don't see it, it'll look something like this, but make sure you selected Android. And if you haven't downloaded the Android build settings, then it's going to take like 5 to 10 minutes, but it's going to be a lot faster than if you did it later on in your project. Okay, so now setting up our settings, we're going to hit this button down here that says player settings, and it's going to open up something in our project settings under the player tab. Okay, second is the product name. This can just be your project file name. Right here, you can set your team icon if you don't want it to just have the made with Unity sign. When you open up the project, you can change it here. Okay, now under the other settings tab of this page, we're going to scroll down, and when it says minimum API level, we're going to make sure we want to have Android 10.0. That's what this documentation recommends for the Quest and the Quest 2. And then the target API level is going to be automatic or highest installed. And next for the scripting backend, we want to switch it to the IL2 CPP. And then next, change this box from ARM v7 to ARM 64. And finally, install location should be automatic. Okay, coming up to our rendering, the color space should be linear. And you're going to hit change to linear. It's going to take a few seconds. And then auto graphics API button, that should be checked. And then you're going to want to make sure this multi-threaded rendering checkbox is checked. Okay, that wraps it up for the player settings. Now we're going to go switch over to the quality settings. The pixel light count should be set to 1, and the anti-aliasing should be 4x. We want real-time reflection probes checked, and we want androscopic textures to be per texture rather than forced on. Okay, so that is it for our project settings, but next we need to install the SDK from our package manager. Okay, so to get to our package manager, you want to come to Window and then Package Manager. And then this will show all of the packages we have in our project so far, but since it's a new project, we'll only have the built-in ones. But to add one, you come up to this plus button up here, and then to add the Oculus ones, we're going to do add package by name. Okay, so if you're following along on the PDF, you'll see that we want to move on to step 2 and click that second link. That will take us to all of the different packages that Oculus offers to us as developers. So it has just recently changed from being an all-in-one to about 8 separate ones. So if you're looking at this and you don't know which one to install, this is the first one. This is the core one, and we just hit add, and it's going to take a few seconds to add. Okay, so once we have our Unity back open, we're going to come and add the next one that we need. And that's the interaction.ovr one. This is going to automatically install the just.interaction one. So if you see it, add to, that's why. So this is going to take another couple minutes to install. So okay, so once you install that, we should see the core interaction and interaction SDK OVR integration all installed in our package manager. So we can go ahead and close out of that. Okay, so once we have that installed, we should see that we have the core SDK, the interaction SDK, and the OVR integration. So exit out of your package manager and then come to Oculus, Tools, and then create store compatible Android manifest.xml. But that will allow us to ship to the Oculus store once we have a finished product, and it'll save stuff like permissions, package details, and stuff like that about our project. Okay, so once we have all that set up, we're going to come here to the bottom right where we see this quest icon and hit that, and it's going to say we have 2 outstanding requirements to fix, and then just come up here and hit fix all. Okay, so I went ahead and hit fix all and all of the warnings it showed me, and now I have this message that says XR ready for Android. Okay, so back to our scene, we're going to come to the search bar and look up OVR player controller, and then we're going to see the prefab that they provided us with the packages, and then we're just going to drag that into our hierarchy, and then that'll just have it appear in our scene. Okay, so the main thing that comes with this OVR player controller is this script, the OVR player controller script, and here we can edit stuff like acceleration, jump force, and how much we want to rotate the camera when we move the joystick on the controller. Another important tip is to remove the other main camera that was in the scene prior to adding the OVR player controller, because you can only have one audio source. Okay, so now we can hit play, and we won't see much, but you always want to make sure to hit play on your scenes before you start building them, just to make sure you don't have any other errors you forget about. Okay, so seems good. We can come to our scene view and then select our player controller and hit F just to see what's going on. Everything seems to be good. I'm going to populate the scene with a few things, and then we're going to build it to the quest. Okay, so I went ahead and added some models by Jay in here. So an important thing to note is that as your artist keeps sending you the FBX files or models, organize them into maybe a models folder or something like that, and or maybe by name. And yeah, keep testing in VR, because sometimes objects won't be optimized for virtual reality. Maybe there's too many vertices or polygons, or all of those good terms that all the artists know to reduce on. Another thing is to note is that virtual reality only supports up to 2K maps. I don't think that's going to be much of a problem for you guys, but just something to keep in mind. Yeah, so now let's go ahead and build this. Like I said, make sure you hit this run button and make sure everything's working before you send it off. I went ahead and added a box collider to this ground plane or ground cube, and that's just so that our player has something to stand on. As you can see, the player controller has a character controller component, which means it has a capsule collider on it, and just make sure that it's not going below that that ground plane where you have the box collider, or else you're just going to fall through the map in virtual reality and have a big headache. Okay, so to build it, go up to File, back where we were earlier, to Build Settings. So make sure you're still on Android. Up here, it's going to show you the scenes that it's going to build. And we don't see our scene, and that's because we haven't hit add open scenes, and that's going to add the VR setup scene to our build. Some things to note, like if you have multiple scenes going on in your game, and you want to make sure you build all the scenes that your player can get to, you can eventually, as you add more scenes to your build, you can select which ones that you want. So if you're playing your game and you wonder why you can't change your scene, make sure that you have all the scenes in your build checked up here. Okay, so hit build, and now it's going to open up a file explorer window, and I recommend creating a folder called builds. I've already created it right here. If you remember from last time, our git ignore file ignores anything in the folder called builds, and that is this folder, and that's just to make sure you're not sending really big APK files to GitHub that your other friends don't need. But if you do want to share them, you can share them on Drive, or you could just put the APK file outside of the builds folder and push to GitHub. Okay, so we want to give it a name. So you can name this really anything you want. I recommend having like a number on them or kind of like a take. What I always do is like say TA virtual interactive worlds, and then I'll do something like take 0, 1, and then it'll add .apk at the end of that, and that's just to kind of organize this folder because as you test more in virtual reality, this folder is going to start to fill up. Okay, so once we hit save, it's going to start building. And now the first time you build your project, it's going to take, oh, yep, make sure you save. It's going to take a decent amount of time. I would say about 10 minutes for the first time. And then every time after that, it could take anywhere from about 2 minutes to 5 minutes. Um, yeah, it after the first one, it caches a lot of the necessary changes. And then kind of iterates off that with just the files that you've changed. So it'll be much quicker. Okay, so let's wait for this to build. Okay, after some time, we have our .apk file in our builds folder. And now moving on to the next part of our tutorial, it's how to get this file onto the headset. Okay, so we're going to be using the ADB tools. ADB is Android Developer Bridge. Yeah, Android Developer Bridge. There's a few ways to install it. If you don't want to follow the way I'm showing you, you can look up a bunch of other ways. It's pretty much, a lot of it's just downloading, adding to your environment path, and yeah, and then you can just use it. I recommend installing Chocolatey. If you don't want to add this, though, there's other ways, but all it is installing the CLI. If you're using the command line, just copy and paste that in there. And if you're using PowerShell, I think they also give you yeah, they give you another link just to paste in there. And then it'll pretty much, you'll have it on there, and then open up your command prompt or whatever you want to use, and yeah, Choco install ADB. Um, Pretty much just take you through some clicks in here. But since I already have it, I'm just going to hit no. Once you have that, you'll be able to type ADB version, something like that. Yeah, Android debug bridge. Sorry, I got the acronym incorrect. But anyways, from here, we're going to want to CD into our project folder. Okay, instead of just using the command line, we can just come in here, right click, and then if you get it correct, you can just hit open in terminal, and it'll just open this folder in the terminal, so you don't have to mess around with the command line too much. And then yeah, so we can see that we have the APK file, and now we're just going to use the tool we just installed to put it onto the headset. Okay, now to do that, we're going to take our headset and turn it on. And then we're going to take the USB-C cables that come with it. This one's just like this, or you could also use a cable like this, USB to USB-C, whichever one you really have on hand. They both work. If you just plug it into your computer and then plug it into your headset. Now to see that we have it in here, you can just devices. Okay, and then after that runs, we'll see that we have this, which is our quest, and then device attached. And then we can come here and hit ADB install, and then just tab to our APK file, and then hit enter, and then it'll stream the install. Okay, and then after a couple seconds, we'll see the success. If you're having trouble with this, make sure that your headset is in developer mode. I'm gonna write out some stuff on the PDF on how to make sure that it's in developer mode. But once you have it on developer mode, this should work. So now we're gonna go inside the quest. I'm gonna record myself playing in there. I might be able to get my voice recorded as well, but we'll see. Okay, so now I'm recording inside the headset. And to get to your file that you built onto the headset,
you need to come here to this taskbar where it says library, and then it's gonna drop you into something like this, like applications, all, but you want to go to unknown sources, and that's where you can see everything that you've built onto the headset. Um, so now we see this is exactly what we built. This is the name of the project, and this is what we set up the package to be. So we'll go ahead and click that, and then we're going to see made with Unity. And then it'll start loading up our world, fade in. And as you can see, we can see the models that we have in here. And just using the joystick, we can kind of just move around. But yeah, everything seems to look good. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna quickly show you guys how to get your headset onto developer mode. Um, when you're setting up your Quest for the first time with your account, um, you're gonna want to download the MetaQuest app on your phone. And once you open it up, it'll look something like this, or I'll show it also on the screen. But essentially, you're going to want to pair your Quest to your app, and then come to this drop down menu and then select which headset you want. And you're probably going to want to be on the same Wi-Fi as it to make it connect easier. And then come to headset settings and then developer mode, and then make sure developer mode is turned on. This will just, that's pretty much it. This will allow us to be able to send developer builds onto the headset. And a developer build is really all we need. But after we kind of finalize our build, we can publish onto the store if we wanted to. But for our sake, we probably won't be doing that unless you guys want me to cover that, then I can. But yep, that pretty much concludes the tutorial for today. So make sure you reach out for any questions. Let me know. All right, thank you.